Good afternoon, I'm Nikki Jovicic from LookUpStrata. Thank you for joining us for this edition of the Strata Snapshot series. I'm in Sydney this afternoon with Adrian Mueller, partner from JS Mueller Co Lawyers, and we're talking New South Wales Strata Reforms. Welcome, Adrian. We've received a number of really informative articles from you, Adrian, over the past few months regarding the upcoming New South Wales Strata Reforms. Your latest article covers the top 10 new strata laws that will make a difference. For most lot owners in New South Wales, which laws do you feel will have the most important impact on their life?
Well, I think there's 5 of the new laws that are going to have a considerable impact on apartment owners. I think the first one is the new laws in relation to the way owners will be able to vote at strata meetings. And that's all part of the New South Wales Government's plan to introduce more flexible meeting arrangements. So once the new laws start, owners will have the opportunity to vote by post, by the internet or by video link. And so that's going to allow owners to participate in meetings from the comfort of their own home, which people will find more convenient. That may well have some unintended consequences. It may well stymie discussion at meetings when people are voting by postal votes, and it may eliminate scope to amend motions at meetings. But nevertheless, I think that's a change for the better by giving owners an opportunity to vote in more flexible ways. The second thing I think that's going to have a big impact on owners is the prohibition on proxy farming. So at the moment, a lot of buildings suffer from the problem of owners gathering proxy votes and holding the majority of votes and essentially deciding how their owners' corporations will be run. Now that's going to change, and a person won't be able to hold more than 5% of the proxies by reference to the total number of lots. So that will avoid the circumstance of one person being able to control a strata building by holding the majority voting right by proxies. That may also have some unintended consequences as well, as all new laws tend to do. There's going to be some uncertainty as to which proxies will be discarded if a person receives more than the maximum number of 5%, and also that may result in some owners who have given their proxy to somebody who's very popular not being represented at meetings. The next big impact I think the new laws will have will be in relation to renovations, and the New South Wales Government wants to streamline the renovations process and cut red tape. And they're going to do that essentially in 2 ways. Once the new laws start, there won't be a need for owners to obtain owners' corporation approval to carry out cosmetic work to their units, even if that affects the common property. So painting and laying new carpets will be able to be done without getting strata approval. And also minor renovations will be able to be approved by an ordinary resolution without the need for a bylaw. So things such as kitchen renovations, installing hard floor coverings or reconfiguring non-structural walls will be able to be approved a lot more quickly and with much less red tape. That's going to speed up the renovations process. Fourthly, I think some of the new laws are going to make it clear that owners' corporations can put an end to undesirable habits of certain residents in buildings. And by that I mean that owners' corporations will be able to make bylaws that ban smoking, that prohibit overcrowding, and also enter into arrangements with local councils to police parking areas in strata buildings. Now at the moment, those sorts of things can already be done, but it's not entirely clear the extent to which they can be done and how effective they can be done. And I think the new laws will clarify that, and that's certainly a step in the right direction. And fifthly, I think the new laws will clarify the rights of strata bodies to remove abandoned goods that have been left on common areas, an old bugbear that seems to attract attention from time to time, and there should now be a clear power for owners' corporations to remove and dispose of abandoned goods that have been left in common areas, provided they follow an appropriate procedure. One thing I haven't mentioned in my top 5 are the new laws regarding the termination of strata schemes and the collective sale of strata buildings, something which has attracted a lot of media attention. And I didn't include that in my top 5 for a simple reason, and that is because I think the impact of those new laws has been overstated by the media. Those new laws may well prove extremely time-consuming and expensive to follow, and I don't think they're going to be as attractive to developers and others as they seem. And that's not to say that they won't be used, but I don't think they're going to be in my top 5 in relation to the impact the new laws will have on owners.
Okay, thank you very much. In your latest article, you mentioned changes to body corporate fines. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that will work?
Sure, Nikki. The New South Wales Government's making 3 main changes to this area. Firstly, at the moment, an owner's corporation can issue an owner or a resident who is breaching a bylaw with a notice to comply, and if that person continues to breach the bylaw, the owner's corporation can apply to NCAT for a penalty of up to $550. Well, that penalty is going to increase under the new laws, and the maximum penalty will now be $1,100, and in the case of a repeat offender that will increase to $2,200. In the case of a bylaw that prohibits overcrowding, the maximum penalty will be much higher, $5,500 for a first offence and $11,000 for a repeat offender. Secondly, if NCAT makes an order to require a person to comply with a bylaw and that order is breached, at the moment the maximum penalty that NCAT can impose is $5,500. Now that's also going to increase. That will increase to $11,000 for an individual or $22,000 for a company. Probably the most significant change, apart from the penalties increasing, is the fact that the penalties under the new laws will be payable to the owners' corporations rather than into the government's coffers. And that will provide more of an incentive for owners' corporations to apply for culprits in their buildings who breach the bylaws to be penalised, because they're going to get the money. But, as I mentioned earlier, there are always unintended consequences with the new laws, and one of the unintended consequences of this area of law reform is that in the past, or at least currently, owners' corporations who get penalties imposed by NCAT also get costs orders in their favour, and under the new laws that might change, and it might not be as easy for owners' corporations who are successful to get their costs paid by the culprits who are fined. But nevertheless, overall, it's a move in the right direction. It's an increase in the fines payable by offenders who breach bylaws, and that can only be a good thing to help stimulate compliance with the bylaws in a strata building.
Can you please tell us a little bit about JS Mueller Co Lawyers?
Sure, Nikki. Our firm was started in 1979 by my father, and he was joined by his partner Bruce Bentley in the 1980s. And at about that time, there was a local real estate agent called Peter Clisdell who set up a strata management business, and Peter and my father and Bruce knew each other quite well, and he needed a lawyer to do his strata work for him. So ever since then, in the mid-1980s, our firm has dabbled in strata law, and about 15 years ago, when I started working here, we focused the direction of the firm on strata law, and ever since I've been here, that's all I've been doing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Adrian, this afternoon.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for watching this edition of the Strata Snapshot series, and we hope to see you next time.